My cold CEO turned out to be the Golden Dragon, and I'm his destined mate. I took a deep breath in, balancing the stack of reports in my arms as I knocked on the massive glass door of Adrian Feng's office. "Come in," his voice called out, clipped and emotionless. I pushed the door open and stepped inside, swallowing down my nerves. Adrian sat behind his sleek black desk, his dark eyes scanning something on his computer screen. He didn't even glance at me as I placed the reports in front of him. "Here are the quarterly financials you requested," I said, keeping my tone as professional as possible. "I triple-checked everything. The numbers match up." He finally looked up, and damn it, why did he have to be so infuriatingly hot? Sharp jaw, high cheekbones, and those piercing hazel eyes that could probably make a lesser man crumble. But no, not me. I was not going to be affected. Not by the way his crisp white shirt stretched over his broad shoulders, or how he radiated effortless control. Absolutely not. "Triple-checked," he repeated, his tone flat. "Then why are there errors?" My stomach twisted. "Errors?" Adrian slid a single page across the desk towards me. "Page 12. The projected revenue is off by $200. I blinked, grabbing the report. My eyes skimmed over the numbers. It was true. There was a tiny discrepancy, a rounding issue. "No excuses," he cut me off. "If you want to work for me, your attention to detail must be flawless." Heat crawled up my neck, and not just from frustration. I'd spent hours perfecting these reports, and all he cared about was a minor mistake. I hated how easily he got under my skin, how this commanding presence made my pulse do stupid things. "I can fix it right now." "Do it, and next time don't waste my time with subpar work." I gritted my teeth and grabbed the reports, biting back the urge to argue. Instead, I turned on my heel and walked out of the office. Working for Adrian Feng was like walking a tightrope over a pit of fire. One misstep and you got burned. And worse, you'd probably liked it. It was already past midnight, and my eyes felt like sandpaper as I stared at my laptop screen. My fingers ached from typing, but the email sitting in my inbox made my exhaustion worse. "Ethan, I need the revised presentation by 6 a.m. No mistakes this time." I groaned, letting my head fall back against my chair. 6 in the freaking morning. He had only given me the files an hour ago. "This man has no soul," I muttered, rubbing my temples. I glanced around the empty office. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, but here I was, stuck because Adrian Feng decided sleep was optional. Grumbling under my breath, I clicked open the files. Maybe if I worked fast, I could get a couple of hours of sleep before morning. 3 hours later, I was cross-eyed from staring at charts and financial projections, but I had finished. I sent the presentation off and leaned back, sighing in relief, and then my phone buzzed. Adrian Feng, fix slide 7. The font is inconsistent. I wanted to scream. Of course he noticed something that tiny. This man was the devil in a tailored suit. It was way past midnight, and the office was practically abandoned. I was still at my desk, finishing up yet another impossible task from Adrian, when I realized I had left some documents in the CEO's office. Grumbling under my breath, I grabbed my keycard and made my way down the dimly lit hallway. The glass walls of Adrian's office shimmered with the faint glow of city lights. I hesitated before knocking, but no answer came. Maybe he had finally gone home for once. I swiped my keycard and pushed the door open. The air was heavy, charged with something electric. Then I saw him. Adrian stood near the window, his back to me, his usual crisp suit jacket missing. His hands clenched at his sides, and his entire body seemed to glow with a faint golden light. "What the hell?" I blurted out before I could stop myself. He turned sharply, his hazel eyes burning, literally burning with a molten gold hue. His expression twisted into something between fury and shock. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice lower, rougher than usual. I stepped back, my heart pounding. What's happening to you?" He exhaled sharply, and for a split second I saw something impossible. Scales shimmering along his arms, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. My stomach dropped. "You're not—" "I said you shouldn't be here," he repeated, taking a step forward. The air grew hotter, and I swore I felt a faint rumble under my feet. That was it. My fight-or-flight instincts kicked in, and I chose flight. I turned and bolted. I didn't care how ridiculous I looked, running like a terrified man who'd just seen a ghost, because what I had just seen was way worse. Adrian Feng wasn't human, and I had just stumbled onto the biggest secret of my life. I didn't stop running until I was safely out of the building, gasping for breath under the cold night sky. I hadn't stepped foot in the office since that night. Instead, I locked myself inside my apartment, surviving on takeout and sheer denial. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. Maybe I was just overworked. Maybe... A sharp knock on my door made me jump. I peeked through the peephole. Adrian. Oh, hell no. I hesitated for a second before making the dumbest decision of my life. I opened the door. He stepped inside without an invitation, his usual icy expression even more severe. "You've been avoiding work." "Gee, I wonder why," I shot back. "Maybe because my boss turned into a glowing lizard." His jaw tightened. "You saw something you shouldn't have. You can't tell anyone." I folded my arms. "Tell them what? That Adrian Feng is secretly a dragon? Yeah, sounds totally believable." His eyes darkened. "I am the last golden dragon, and you are my mate. Thought you should know the complete truth." I blinked, then I laughed hard. "Oh, that's good, that's really good, you almost got me there." He didn't laugh, my amusement faded. "Wait, you're serious?" Adrian nodded. Oh, I was so screwed. Neither of us had mentioned that night or the big revelations since that day. We went on as if nothing had changed, but it clearly had. After another long night at the office, another impossible deadline, but something was different. Adrian was off. I'd spent enough time around the cold-hearted CEO to notice the small shifts. His grip on his pen was tighter, his shoulders were tenser, and he looked tired. Not the usual, overworked businessman kind of tired, but drained, like something was pulling the life out of him. I frowned, watching from my desk as he stood near the window, staring at the city lights. The golden glow I had once seen in his eyes was duller now. "You okay?" I asked before I could stop myself. He turned, and for a second I swore I saw hesitation in his expression. Then, his usual cold mask slid back into place. "Focus on your work, Ethan." I sighed. "Seriously? That's your answer?" He didn't respond. Instead, he walked past me like I wasn't even there. But I knew what I saw, and I knew something was wrong. It had been a long, grueling week, and I was ready to call it a day, at least that's what I thought until Adrian walked up to my desk. "I'm going to grab lunch," he said, standing there for a moment, his usual air of confidence somewhat subdued. "Coming?" I looked up from my screen, surprised. We'd been working together for months, and we'd never shared lunch, not even once. I hesitated. The office was always so tense, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to face whatever unspoken tension hung between us. But something about his offer felt different today. "Yeah, sure," I replied, getting up from my desk. We walked down to the nearby cafe in silence. Adrian didn't say anything, and neither did I. There was this strange quiet pressure in the air, as if we were both unsure of what to do with this new kind of normal. I grabbed a sandwich and sat across from him. He took his usual black coffee, no cream, no sugar. His eyes lingered on the cup for a moment, and I noticed how his fingers traced the rim as if lost in thought. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to break the awkward silence. He glanced up at me, and for a moment, his usual cold demeanor softened. "I'm fine," he said, though I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. We ate in silence for a while. Then, as I was about to finish my sandwich, I caught him watching me out of the corner of my eye. He quickly looked away when our gazes met, his cheeks faintly flushed. It was subtle, but it was a shift, and somehow I couldn't shake the feeling that something was slowly changing between us. The office was empty when we finally wrapped up. I grabbed my jacket and was about to leave when I heard Adrian's voice from behind me. "Ethan?" I turned, surprised to see him standing by the elevator, his hand resting on the button as if he was waiting for me. "Yeah?" I asked, feeling a weird knot form in my stomach. He didn't speak right away, just looked at me for a moment. "I'm headed out. Need a ride?" It wasn't the first time he'd offered, but there was something different in his tone this time. It wasn't a command or a formality, it was genuine. I raised an eyebrow, caught off guard. "You sure? You usually drive yourself." "I'm tired," he admitted, looking a bit vulnerable for the first time. "Could use the company." I nodded slowly. "All right, I'll drive." The car ride was quiet at first, the hum of the engine and the occasional turn of the road filling the silence. But then, as we neared his apartment, Adrian spoke up again. "You know, you're not as bad as I thought." His words caught me off guard. I glanced at him, his gaze focused on the road ahead, but there was a slight smirk on his lips. "Thanks," I said, not sure if he was teasing or being serious. He chuckled softly. "No, really. I wasn't expecting you to stick around this long, but you're persistent." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. "Someone's got to keep you from falling apart." He didn't respond, but when I glanced at him again, his expression was softer. The way he looked at me wasn't like before. There was something else there, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. And for the first time, I found myself wondering if maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as cold as he tried to appear. I slammed the door behind me as I stormed into Adrian's office. The frustration that had been boiling for weeks finally exploded. "That's it. I'm done." Adrian looked up from his desk, his brow furrowing. Ethan? No, you don't get to Ethan me," I snapped. "You drop the bomb on me that I'm your mate, freak me the hell out, and then you shut me out like none of it ever happened. And now you're—" I gestured at him wildly. "I don't know what's happening, but something is wrong with you, and I'm not leaving until you tell me." His jaw tightened. "It's none of your concern." "Bullshit!" I stepped closer, anger thrumming in my veins. "You're weaker. You look like you're about to collapse any second, and don't think I haven't noticed the way your powers keep flickering out." Adrian's lips pressed into a thin line, but he still refused to meet my gaze. I exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through my hair. "Why won't you just let me in?" For a long moment he didn't speak. Then, finally, in a voice so low I almost didn't hear it, he said, "Because I'm afraid." That stopped me cold. Adrian Feng, powerful, untouchable Adrian, was afraid? Of what? I asked, my voice quieter now. He looked at me then, something raw and unguarded in his eyes. "The prophecy." I frowned. "The one you keep being so cryptic about?" He let out a humorless laugh. "It's not just about me, Ethan. It's about us. If I give in to this bond, if I accept it completely, they say it will awaken a power so strong it could either save the world or destroy it." I blinked. "And you're worried it'll be the second option?" His silence was answer enough. I let out a breath, my frustration draining into something else. Understanding? Slowly, I stepped closer. "Adrian, you don't have to carry this alone." His gaze locked onto mine, and for once he didn't pull away. Maybe, just maybe, he was finally listening. It happened during another late night, only this time, Adrian wasn't his usual, infuriatingly controlled self. I found him in his office, gripping the edge of his desk like he was holding himself together. His breathing was heavy, his knuckles white, the golden light around him flickered weakly. "Adrian?" His head snapped up, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw real fear in his eyes. "Get out," he rasped. I took a step closer. "No, what's happening to you?" His body shuddered, and I saw the glimmer of scales along his arms again, but this time they looked faded, like they were disappearing. His strength was fading. Something was wrong. really wrong. I said get out, he growled, but there was no bite in it. He looked vulnerable. I swallowed hard. Not happening. Before he could argue, the lights flickered, and a shadow moved outside the glass walls of his office. We weren't alone. Something was coming, and Adrian wasn't ready to fight it. Thankfully, there was no fight last time, but Adrian was shutting me out. Ever since that night, he'd been acting even colder than usual. If I brought up what happened, he'd dismiss it like it was nothing. If I tried to help, he pushed me away. Well, too bad. I wasn't going anywhere. I stormed into his office, slamming the door behind me. Enough. Adrian barely glanced up from his desk. You're supposed to knock. I don't care, I snapped. You're getting weaker, Adrian, and you're pretending like everything is fine. His jaw tightened. I can handle it. No, you can't, I shot back. You're barely holding it together. Whatever's happening to you is getting worse. He exhaled sharply, standing up. Ethan, drop it. No! I stepped closer, my hands clenched at my sides. I don't care about your stupid prophecy or whatever you think will happen if we connected. You need help. His hazel eyes flickered gold for just a second, and something dark crossed his face. You don't understand. Then make me understand, I demanded, because I'm not leaving you to deal with this alone. Silence stretched between us. His gaze burned into mine like he was searching for something. Finally, he looked away. You're stubborn. Yeah, I am. His lips pressed into a thin line, but he didn't push me away this time. It wasn't much, but it was something. I was getting used to the insanity of working for Adrian Feng, but nothing could have prepared me for the night everything changed. It started with a strange sound outside his office, a deep, unnatural growl. I barely had enough time to react before the glass door shattered inward. Shadowy figures poured into the room, moving too fast to be human. Adrian was already in motion. One moment he was behind his desk, the next he was a blur, knocking the intruders back with raw power. The golden glow I'd seen before flickered around him, but it was dim, weaker than it should have been. He was struggling. I grabbed the closest thing I could find, a heavy paperweight, and hurled it at one of the attackers. It did nothing. Get out, Adrian shouted, shoving me toward the door as he took on another attacker. No chance, I shot back, dodging as a shadowy figure lunged at me. Adrian cursed under his breath, but he didn't argue, and that scared me more than anything. The morning after the attack, Adrian looked like hell. His usual perfect composure was gone, his skin was pale, his movements sluggish. He was running on fumes. You're not okay, I said, arms crossed. I don't need you to tell me that, he muttered, rubbing his temples. I dropped into the chair across from his desk. Then stop pretending. Stop pushing me away. He exhaled sharply, like he was holding back a retort. His hands clenched on the desk. Finally, he looked at me. You shouldn't be involved in this. Too late, I shot back. I already am. His gaze flickered with something unreadable. I half expected him to fight me on it, but instead, he was silent. Then, reluctantly, he nodded. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The attacks didn't stop. If anything, they got worse. Adrian was slowing down, and no matter how much he pretended otherwise, I noticed. He barely ate. He barely slept. I caught him leaning against his desk for support more than once, his breaths unsteady, and his eyes, his sharp, calculating eyes, were duller, tired. One night, after another too close call, I found him staring out the window, his reflection shadowed in the glass. I hesitated before stepping closer. You're not invincible, you know. His shoulders stiffened. I don't need a reminder. I let out a slow breath. You don't have to do this alone. For the longest time he didn't respond. Then, quietly, he said, I always have. Something about the way he said it, flat, resigned, hit me harder than I expected. You don't anymore, I said softly. For once, he didn't argue. The tension between us had changed. The air felt heavier whenever we were alone, like an unspoken conversation was waiting to happen. It was late when I found him in the private lounge at the office, nursing a glass of whiskey, his tie loosened, looking unguarded in a way I rarely saw. "You planning on drinking yourself into oblivion?" I teased, sitting across from him. His lips twitched, the ghost of a smirk. "It would take more than this." I watched as he swirled the amber liquid in his glass, his fingers tense around the crystal. He was exhausted, and for once he wasn't hiding it. I leaned forward. "You don't have to keep carrying this alone, you know." His gaze flicked up to mine, something raw and uncertain in his eyes. "You say that like you actually have a choice." "I do," I said firmly, "and I'm choosing to stay." Something shifted in him. Slowly, he reached for my hand, his fingers brushing over mine, hesitant but deliberate. My breath caught. "I don't know how to let someone in," he admitted softly. I squeezed his hand. "Then let's start small." For the first time, he didn't pull away. The next night, the power went out in the office. We were the only two left. Again. "Guess we're stuck," I muttered, leaning against his desk as Adrian checked his phone. "Generators should kick in soon," he said, though he didn't sound particularly eager to leave. Silence stretched between us, thick with tension. I could feel his presence like a gravitational pull, impossible to ignore. "You're staring," he murmured without looking up. "Maybe." I didn't bother denying it. He finally met my gaze, something unreadable in his hazel eyes. "Why?" I swallowed, my heart pounding. "Because you make it impossible not to." His expression flickered, something vulnerable beneath the steel. Slowly, he stepped closer, his body just inches from mine. "This is dangerous," he murmured, but he didn't move away. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the fabric of his shirt. "So is avoiding it." His breath hitched, and then, before I could second-guess myself, I closed the distance. The moments our lips met, heat surged through me, electricity crackling between us. Adrian tensed for half a second before he exhaled sharply and pulled me closer, his hands gripping my waist like I was the only thing anchoring him. The kiss was slow but intense, filled with unsaid words, with every moment of tension that had built between us. When we finally broke apart, his forehead rested against mine, his breath shaky. Neither of us said anything, but we didn't really need to. I didn't mean to fall for him, but between the fights, the late nights, and the way his walls cracked just enough to let me see the man underneath, it just happened. Adrian still fought it, still kept me at a distance, but I saw the way his gaze lingered when he thought I wasn't looking, the way his fingers twitched when I got too close. One night, after another brutal attack, I caught his arm before he could pull away. My pulse was racing, breathless from the chaos. "You can't keep doing this alone," I told him. His hazel eyes burned onto mine, flickering gold. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand," I shot back, "because I'm not leaving." His jaw clenched. For a moment, I thought he'd push me away again. But then, just barely, he reached out, brushing his fingers against mine. The contact sent a jolt through me, something deep, something electric. "I can't risk it," he murmured, his voice rough. I swallowed hard, heart hammering. "What if I'm willing to?" His breath hitched, the space between us shrank, the tension coiled tight, and for the first time I saw it. His fear wasn't just about fate or prophecy. It was about me, about this, about us. He was afraid of wanting me, and God help me, I wanted him too. The attack came without warning. 1 second, Adrian and I were in his office reviewing security footage. Next, the entire building shook. A deafening explosion ripped through the walls, and suddenly, they were there. More of those shadowy figures, stronger and faster than before. Adrian moved first, stepping in front of me, but I could see it. He was already drained. The golden glow flickered weakly around him as he fought. But he was losing ground fast. I knew I should run. I knew I should get out of the way. But when one of the figures raised a blade dripping with dark energy and lunged straight at Adrian, my body moved before I could think. I threw myself in front of it. Pain lanced through me, a sharp, searing heat. I heard Adrian scream my name, then fire. Not just fire, power. A golden light exploded from where Adrian and I were connected, wrapping around us both. The bond flared to life, and suddenly I wasn't just shielding him, I was unlocking something deep inside him. His golden aura flared bright, the dim flickers bursting into full roaring flames. The enemies staggered back, hissing, as Adrian straightened, renewed energy surging through him. I barely had time to process it before Adrian caught me, his arms tightening around me. His voice was hoarse, shaking. You awakened it," he whispered. "The bond, you're the key." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer immediately, just held me tighter. "It means I was wrong about the prophecy," he finally said. "Keeping you away won't protect you, me, or the world. Keeping you close is the only way we survive, the only way I survive." I never saw it coming. One second I was walking to my car after another late night at Feng Corporation. The next, pain exploded at the back of my head and everything went dark. When I came to, I was somewhere else, cold, damp, the scent of metal thick in the air. My wrists were bound, my head pounded, and my stomach churned with unease. "You woke up faster than I expected," a voice drooled. I lifted my head, blinking through the haze. A man stood in front of me, tall, dressed in black, eyes gleaming with something inhuman. "Who the hell are you?" I croaked. "The one who holds your life and Adrian Feng's power in my hands." My stomach dropped. "What?" The man crouched in front of me, smirking. "You really don't know, do you?" He grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. "You're not his mate. You're the key to his strength, and if I kill you, I take that strength away." Ice shot through my veins. "Adrian!" "You're lying," I spat, yanking my head away. He only chuckled. "Am I? Well, I suppose we'll find out soon enough." Hours, maybe days passed. I had no way of knowing. The only thing I did know was that Adrian hadn't come yet, and that terrified me. Then the man returned, accompanied by two figures wreathed in shadow. "Let's make this easy, shall we?" he said, crouching before me again. "You have two choices, Ethan Lee. Sever the bond and watch your dragon waste away, or stay bound to him and let us use you as a leash." My breath caught. You want to control him?" "Oh, not just control," he mused. "We want to break him, and you, dear mate, are the perfect tool to do it." My fists clenched. My heart pounded. No, I wouldn't let them use me against him, but if I severed the bond, Adrian would weaken, and if I didn't, I was screwed either way. Somewhere far away, a roar tore through the night, deep, guttural, filled with rage. Adrian. The walls trembled. The air vibrated with unseen power, and for the first time, the smirk slipped from my captor's face. "He's coming," I breathed, my chest tightening with something I couldn't name. Fear, relief, love. The shadows around us thickened, coiling like living things. The enemy turned to his lackeys. "Prepare the restraints. If he gets too close, use the boy." A door slammed open. Then he was there. Adrian stood in the ruined doorway, golden energy crackling around him like an inferno. His hazel eyes blazed, locked onto me with a fury so intense it stole my breath. And then everything happened at once. The fight was chaotic. Adrian tore through them like a storm, golden fire scorching everything in his path. But for every enemy he struck down, more rose to take their place. Then I felt it, a sharp, searing pain in my chest, a pull on the bond so violent it nearly knocked me out. Adrian faltered mid-strike. His body jerked like something invisible had grabbed hold of him. "Ah, there it is," my captor mused. He twisted his fingers and pain lanced through me again. Adrian gasped, falling to one knee. "Stop," I choked. "Stop, you're killing him." The man smirked. "Not yet, but I will. Unless..." I knew what he wanted. "Sever the bond," he ordered. "Do it and he walks away. Keep it and he dies, here and now." Adrian's gaze locked onto mine, desperate, pleading. I swallowed hard, my hands trembling. If I severed it, Adrian would weaken until there was nothing left. If I didn't, they'd use me against him until they destroyed him anyway. I had to choose, and either way, I lost. I couldn't breathe. The enemy's grip on me tightened, dark energy wrapping around my body like chains. My vision blurred, but I still saw Adrian, on his knees, struggling against the force holding him back. His golden aura flickered, weak and unstable. "You can't save him," the energy sneered. "You're powerless without him, and he's powerless because of you." Adrian's gaze met mine, desperate, furious. But then something shifted. His expression hardened, his hands clenched into a fist. "No," he growled, voice trembling with raw power. "I was powerless because I refused to accept him." The air crackled. The golden glow around him surged, brighter than ever. The chains holding him shattered. The enemy staggered back, fear flickering in their eyes. I felt it then, the bond between us, strong, unbreakable. Adrian wasn't holding back anymore. He embraced it fully, and the power that had been locked away exploded to life. Flames roared around him, his eyes burning gold. The prophecy's curse shattered in an instant, and the dark energy constricting me vanished. The enemy screamed as Adrian unleashed his full might. The battle wasn't just won, it was over. I collapsed, but Adrian was there, catching me before I hit the ground, his arms wrapped around me, steady and warm. "I should have done this sooner," he murmured. I let out a shaky breath. "Took you long enough." The dust had settled, the battle was over, but the weight of everything still lingered. We stood on the rooftop of Feng Corporation, the city lights glowing below us. Adrian was quiet, staring out at the skyline, his expression unreadable. "You're thinking too much," I said, nudging him lightly. He exhaled. "I spent my whole life running from this. From you." I crossed my arms. "And?" His gaze met mine. The hesitation was gone. Instead, there was something else. Certainty. "And I'm done running." He stepped closer, his fingers brushing against mine before he laced them together. The warmth of our bond hummed between us, steady and unshakable. "I don't want fate to decide for me," he said softly. "I choose this. I choose you." My heart clenched, but in the best way possible. I squeezed his hand, smiling despite everything. "Good, because I wasn't giving you a choice anyway." Adrian chuckled, an actual real laugh, and for the first time since this all started, I knew we'd be okay. The sun was setting, casting golden light over the rooftop garden. The air was warm, carrying the faint scent of blooming jasmine, and the city stretched between us, alive and endless. But the only thing I could focus on was the man sitting beside me. Adrian. My impossible, frustrating, breathtaking Adrian. He had changed since that night, when our bond had awakened and when we had stopped fighting fate and finally chosen each other. The cold mask he used to wear so easily was gone, replaced by something softer, something real. His fingers traced lazy patterns over my wrists, his touch sending shivers down my spine. I turned to him, my heart swelling all the way. The setting sun made his golden eyes molten. "You're staring," he murmured, lips twitching. I grinned. "Can you blame me? You're kind of impossible to look away from." A slow, knowing smirk played on his lips. "Flattery, Ethan? I thought you were more direct than that." I huffed a laugh. "Fine, you're ridiculously hot, Feng. Happy?" His chuckle was low and rich, the kind that made my pulse quicken. "Very." I shifted closer, my fingers brushing against his jaw. 6 months, I said softly. "Did you ever think we'd make it here?" He exhaled, his hand sliding around my waist, pulling me in. "No," he admitted. "Not because I didn't want it, because I was terrified." I searched his gaze, seeing the raw honesty there. "And now?" He leaned in, pressing his forehead against mine, his breath warm against my lips. "Now, I can't imagine a world where you're not mine." My heart slammed against my ribs. There was no hesitation in his voice, no walls left between us, just him, just us. "I love you," I whispered, the words slipping out like they'd been waiting forever. His lips curved, his eyes darkened with something deeper, something infinite. "I love you too." A thought struck me then, something I had never questioned before. I pulled back slightly, looking into his eyes. "Adrian, how did you know I was your mate? I never questioned it, you being my mate, but how did you know?" He studied me for a moment, his fingers still tracing soft circles on my skin. Then he smiled, small and certain. "Same reason you didn't question it," he said. "You knew it in your bones. The moment I saw you, I knew you were my mate." I scoffed, raising an eyebrow. "Then why were you such an ass to me?" His lips twitched. "Ass? Ass?" He suddenly lunged, fingers digging into my sides as he started tickling me mercilessly. I yelped, squirming against him, laughing uncontrollably. "Adrian, stop! No! You jerk!" He grinned wickedly, pinning me down just enough to keep going. "What was that? Can't hear you over all the suffering." "Mercy!" I gasped between laughter, grabbing at his wrists. With a chuckle, he finally relented, but he didn't let go. Instead, his expression shifted, softening. He cupped my face, his thumb brushing over my cheek. "Because I was stupid enough to believe you and I would be better apart." I held his gaze, my hands coming up to cradle his face. "And now, do you know better?" A slow, almost reverent smile touched his lips. "Oh, so much better." And then he kissed me, slow, deep, like he was sealing a promise into my skin. His fingers tangled in my hair, pulling me closer until there was no space left between us. The world blurred, the city faded, and all that had existed was the heat between us, the quiet hum of our bond and the unshakable certainty that this was forever. As the last rays of sunlight dipped beyond the skyline, Adrian pulled back just enough to whisper against my lips, "You're stuck with me now." I smiled, pressing another kiss to his lips. Good. And for once, neither of us had to fight anything at all. Looking back, I can't believe how much has changed. If someone had told me a year ago that my cold, impossible boss was actually a golden dragon, and that I was his fated mate, I would have laughed in their face. But now I can't imagine my life without Adrian. We've fought battles, faced impossible odds, and somehow we're still here, together, stronger than ever. I glance at him now, sitting beside me, his fingers laced with mine. There's no more distance, no more walls between us, just us. The future is uncertain, but for once, that doesn't scare me, because no matter what comes next, I know one thing's for sure. We'll face it together. Have you ever wanted a mythical creature as your partner? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.